You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. We're happy to be here with you on Spirit 1340 WYCB, listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. It is December, getting close to Christmas, and we've got a good show lined up for you today. We're going to have our own Dr. Julianne Malvo, and then in our second half of our show, we are going to be hearing from attorney Dana Stebbins. She talked for the last couple of years about what the Trump administration would mean, and now that the inevitable has happened, she's going to talk about where do we go from here. And I'm sure that's where Dr. Julianne is, too, because she talks politics as well. Dr. Julianne Malvo is the Speaker extraordinaire, one of two president emeritus at Bennett College in North Carolina, my home state. They named a building after her there. She's a dean, and she may be speaking anywhere in the world. So I'd just like to welcome her. She's also president of the Push Excel, the youth organization of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Dr. Malvo, what's up with politics this week?
Ooh, what's up? Well, you know, the Trump nominees are working the Hill as we speak. There are several of them who are going to be problematic. Of course, Pete Hegseth, the nominee or the designee for Department of Defense, is challenging. He has a very checkered record, which includes he doesn't want women in the military. Now he's backed off of that. Which includes sexual allegations, none of which have been proven, in fairness. He apparently has or had an alcohol problem, which potentially could set him up for blackmail. So there's just many problems with him. But the biggest person who can put their thumb on this scale is Joni Ernst, a senator, Republican woman, who is a combat veteran and who herself was sexually assaulted in the military. If she says no-go, it's going to be a no-go. So people will be looking at her, and people are looking at her to see what direction she's going in. She is up for re-election in 2 years, and you know how Mr. Trump plays. If you don't go with him, he's going to put someone up against you. So I think, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes down. But he's one. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. I mean, is a woman even intelligent? Mm-hmm. Has she had anything to do with intelligence agencies? She's a very controversial pick, but she's a pick. And she, too, is walking the halls of Capitol Hill trying to get support. One of the more troubling, well, they're all troubling, but Kush Patel, who is the designee for the FBI, has a list of who he's going after. It includes Jack Smith in the Department of Justice. It includes Liz Cheney, who, of course, voted for Trump's impeachment and was on the January 6th committee. So all these people basically, they are going to be targets. Now, some people are pushing President Biden to issue blanket pardons like he did for his son, Hunter. Blanket pardons, but these people haven't been charged with anything, so that's very interesting. But let's be real clear about some of that in terms of that. If President Biden issues pardons, why not issue them to some of the black men and women who are basically being charged illegally with drug-related crimes? Why not take the 40 people who are on federal death row and pardon them? Biden has not used the pardon in ways that he could, and so I charge him with selfishness. In other words, you got your son off the hook. I'd have done the same thing, but what about all these other people? He has used a pardon less than any other president has. Now, he still has about a month, a little less than a month to do more, and I don't hope that he will. So that's I'm going to veer from politics for a minute to talk about Nikki Giovanni.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw her and my friend who I met her when I was 19 at Boston College. We had her as a speaker, and I fought with other people to be the one to pick her up at the airport. And I got the honor to pick her up. And then, of course, Lyndia, your friend, who has no sense of direction, got lost, bring her back. And at first we were very cordial. She's a Delta, I'm a Delta. And then at some point she said, do you know where you're going? I was like, oh, no. And she said, oh, no, that will never do. But she is the root of our Afrocentricity with her poem, Ego Tripping. I was born in the Congo, And so she was 82 years old when she made her transition this week. And we just will miss her beautiful, bold voice.
Yeah.
Beautiful, bold voice. And many people here in the DMV area have seen her at Busboys and Poets and in other places. And just want to stop and just appreciate her. She died from lung cancer. She's been battling it for some time. But she did make her transition. And her memory has to be both a blessing and an inspiration. Yeah. She was an activist and an author and so many other things. She came to Bennett a couple times when I was there. She wrote the book about Claudette Colbert, a woman who preceded Rosa Parks in terms of not refusing to get off the bus. The Claudine Colbert was a teenager who was pregnant. And so we did not rally around her as a community because of the politics of respectability. We rally around Nikki Giovanni now because she was who we are. Mm-hmm. Now, the whole nation has been pivoting back to the politics. The nation has been looking for this young man, Luigi Mangione, who killed or allegedly killed Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. He used a ghost gun, and these are guns they're not registered, so you can't figure them out. They found him at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Neither here nor there. The issue, of course, is these guns, these ghost guns, and how easy they are to create. You can make them. You can download a kit and make them with cardboard. So when people talk about gun control, that's something to think about. The other thing to think about is the profound decency with which this man has been treated. He has a lawyer. He says he's not guilty. There seems to be a health issue that he had in terms of having spinal surgery, and it appears that perhaps his health care was denied. In any case, this manhunt, which went on for almost a week, it's over. What's next? He's in Pennsylvania. There's extradition possibilities. He needs to get back to New York, or they need him back in New York, where he killed the United Healthcare CEO. But the other thing, Lyndia, that's interesting is the number of people who have his back. And people have been talking about, we got his back. Some of the comments on the Wall Street Journal's website are downright indecent, cheering him on, saying they don't care. They don't blame him. That's what healthcare has come to. But what has decency come to? So this is something that people are going to be talking about. How do you applaud someone for killing somebody? Well, they do it with the police. The white man who basically killed a brother on a subway in New York got off. Got all the way off. And a lot of people are saying he should have gotten off because the brother was having a mental health meltdown and was threatening people. But he had him on a chokehold for 6 minutes. We already know what chokeholds do. And the white boy got off.
Yes,
so
he
we
did.
just have to completely, no consequences. This is lynching culture. You do whatever you want to a black person, expect to have no consequences. Now, let's go to the Middle East for just a second and talk about Syria, which has been 14 years in civil war. The Assad family has been running the show there for 50 years. They got up out of there. Russia has given them shelter. Israel is worried, but they've done 350 airstrikes as of early in the week. There'll probably be more by the end of the week. And they are saying that they want to create a demilitarized zone. They are afraid that there will be more instability in the Middle East, and there will be. And, of course, this is a very bad time for the United States because we're in the middle of a transition, a political transition. And the incoming president says we don't have a dog in that fight. The United States has been basically the peacemaker or the attempted peacemaker in that area. So to say no dog in a fight, what do we just let it go? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we are in the middle of transition, as we know, and we're a few days from the holidays. Well, we're in the holidays for some people, as we know, and we just hope and pray that there is peace in the Middle East. But we know that that's a hope and a prayer and not a promise.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julian. That was wonderful. I got caught up on a lot of stuff. We'll talk back to you next week. We're almost to the Christmas break.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Now we're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, you know we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. Now we're going to go to our second half. Our guest is attorney Dana Stebbins. Dana Brewington Stebbins, MSW, JD, an attorney with an advanced degree in human behavior and more than 25 years of experience, provides strategic advice in community and economic development activities that accounts for and accommodates the professional, social, and cultural uniqueness of the firm's clients and their business relationships. I just always like to note how I've known Dana for over 40 years because I met her way back in the early 80s when she was chair of the Women in Business Committee with the D.C. Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back, Dana. You've been talking to us now for over a year about this election and the dangers of what was going to happen, and we are now living in our worst nightmare. So help us know how we can go forward. Now that the national election is close to being certified, what are things we as a people, as marginalized citizens and communities should think about?
Well, thanks for having me as always, Lyndia.
You're welcome.
I'm still trying to process all this. Mm-hmm. I've been deeply disturbed, as you might imagine, by the outcome and by what he's done since being elected, his cabinet choices, his policies that he's announced already that'll take effect on day one, the people that he surrounded himself with who are anti-everything that we as a people need and have grown accustomed to having from our public sector. So I think what we need to really think about are, first, if you're employed by the federal government, start thinking about your job security. Mm-hmm. The new government efficiency department that's headed by Elon Musk is already announced that it tends to cut thousands of jobs from the civil service, and to change and create a new schedule where you have to pledge your loyalty to the president in order to even be employed by the federal government. So start thinking about that. Second one is access to college, financial support, Pell Grants, and other opportunities that many students that go to HBCUs have been privileged to be able to have and gain a college education are being scheduled to be cut. Funding from states, likewise, will be cut. So your access to college, you need to start really thinking about. Then deportation. A lot of us don't think about deportation of immigrants as impacting us, but it does. We have family, we have friends, we have staff members, all of whom are immigrants. And the mass deportation that he scheduled will take people away from us that have been in our communities for years. Mm-hmm. Social Security. You need to start thinking about what you will do if they cut Social Security. You no longer have access to the funds that you have already put into the fund, let alone going forward. Then last, I talked to you about health care. Think seriously about what's going to happen to health care. They're going to try, again, to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. They're going to try to cut states' money to supplant private insurance. Health care will really be in jeopardy. Those are a few I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, that next question then, when you talk about making a plan, tell us what that means. What do you mean by making a plan?
What I really mean is we need to go back to thinking like our ancestors thought. We need to go back to thinking as if we have no help from anywhere except ourselves. We need to make a plan to get through these 4 years. How are we going to survive? Let me give you a good example. When our parents were raising us, there was no such thing as Black history in the schools, but we learned what then was called Negro history from our families and from the churches and from Sunday school. We need to go back to thinking about that because the curriculum they are going to design will eliminate every reference to Black history as we currently know it. People without a history cannot survive. So a plan needs to be made to make sure our youth and our children still learn about our ancestors and the accomplishments that we've made. That's just an example. We need to unite. This plan needs to unite us. No longer can we afford to have petty differences keeping us apart. The groups, the fraternities, the sororities, the fraternal organizations, the church groups, we need to all unite and come together and coalesce around a plan of action to survive these 4 years. How do we survive with less money? Do we go back to putting our money in banks that are controlled by African Americans? They can be insured by the Treasury, but can we count on those banks that we used to use, savings and loans institutions that we used to use, in order to keep our money available to us, lest they do something about that? We need to think about forming alliances with like-minded groups. I know people stopped thinking the NAACP was the answer, but the NAACP is still extremely active. It has a litigation arm that is already planning to sue the federal government on many of the actions that Trump's administration is planning to take. You need to think about the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights. We need to think about the black lawyers, the Hispanic lawyers. We need to think about organizations that we may not have thought about before who are there to advocate on our behalf, and we need to ally with them and line ourselves with a plan of action to attack this legally, through social media, socially, and any other way that we can. We need black radio. We need black TV. We need podcasts. We need everything we can so that we are not silenced by what's about to happen to us, and we can continue the fight.
Okay. And do you have any ideas about those of us who have access, radio and writing my column and people on TV? Do you think that anybody's going to bother us? He won by a few million votes, and he seems to be calmer. But when we get out there and start protesting and doing what we have to do, what do you think? What is your opinion?
Well, I would expect the same type of reaction we had in the 60s when we started protesting and marching and fighting for civil rights. I don't think they're going to take it lying down. I think they're going to do everything they can to silence us. I don't know yet how they intend to do that. It may simply be with the influence of the media that they already control, Fox News and other networks that they control. And so they may come out with anti-news, anti-activity against us to try to label us in some way as rabble-rousers or troublemakers. But Lyndia, we're used to that. We've had to fight for everything we've ever got. Nobody has ever given African Americans and other people of color anything in this country. We've had to fight from the very beginning. We've gotten used to not having to fight, but we need to get back into fighting.
But I just want to say before we close this segment, it's so many, I don't know what, Gen X people, young black people in their 40s who voted for Donald Trump. I am taken by surprise when two of my three children voted for him. I am too shocked at that. And I'm not ashamed to say it because it's the truth. And I'm telling people that even my first cousin who's in her 40s, when I went home for Thanksgiving in North Carolina, she said, I didn't vote for either one. I don't like Trump and I don't like Kamala. She was just going, and she was saying so much I couldn't say nothing. Me and her mother, we like you. We had a lot to say, but we couldn't because she was talking so, like, I'm just saying, they are on a different page. We couldn't even get a word in.
Yes, I understand. And that's part of our battle. When I say we need to unite and educate, we need to unite. We cannot discount those people. They need to be re-educated. They are educated through social media, not newspapers, not factual information, not anything. So what they put out on social media, many of them believe. Because Trump signed those checks that they got,
oh my God, yes.
They actually thought he was the one that gave them the money.
Yes.
They don't understand that he happened to be the president at the time, but the activity started under another administration. So see, they don't really understand anything about government, and we need to talk to them. We have to talk to them. We can't lose another whole generation.
Well, let me just say, I agree, but trying to talk to my two has been difficult.
Yes.
I have to have more people around because as big as my mouth is, when they were in here with me, and I was in shock. We're in here trying to fight. I said, oh, my God, I can't believe you're telling me this. But anyway.
That's why I'm telling you, we need alliances. We need groups of people. We can't do it on our own. You can't talk to your children. I can't talk to my nieces and nephews who supported Trump or who didn't support Kamala by myself. We need groups of people to go after this together because they are our future.
Yeah.
And he has managed somehow to win many of them over.
God. And boys and Spanish people like his manly attitude. So
yes, that macho stuff.
It was because Kamala was a woman too. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that part in because you can tell from my energy I got truly upset.
You know the saying, a hard head makes a sore behind.
Yes, it does.
Remember that? So some of them may have to learn by what's about to happen to them. Something's going to happen, and then they're going to say, oh, my God, really? This is what she was talking about? Yeah, some of them going to have to learn the hard way.
I think so, yeah. All right. Well, Dana, thank you for this interesting conversation. I know the listeners are going to enjoy this show this week, and I thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you. I will say one last thing.
Yes,
please don't give up. Tell your listeners, do not give up. I know it's depressing. I know it's sad. Do not give up. In our 400-year history, we have not given up, and we're not going to give up now.
No, we're not going to give up. And I know that the listeners who listen to this station are more our age, people who understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to talking to you in 2025. Dana Stebbins, we want to keep hearing from you because what you had to tell us today was very good, and I'm thankful. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. That's a quote by Alan Rufus, and Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. We hope this show today with Dr. Julianne Malvo and attorney Dana Stebbins was helpful to you. Tune in again next week to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things. Good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused, and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated, but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. And NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.